Hi.
Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thanks. But obviously, I want to start off by thanking you for even joining us. I've been following you since I came across you, and I think it's really nice to, one, see someone who works in intellectual property, because I don't know anyone else that does, but also to see someone who has taken it one step further to starting their own practice. And so I thought it'd be great to have you on the platform. You can kind of share all of your knowledge and experience with us. So if you don't mind kind of just giving us a brief background overview of your legal journey, and then obviously we'll go into each bit at the end in a bit more detail.
Great. Okay. So as you already know, I'm a Chartered Trademark Attorney. I didn't actually start out wanting to be a lawyer, and that might surprise a lot of people. So I actually started out wanting to be a doctor. And so I wanted to practice medicine. So I applied for medicine. I didn't get in. I then did biomedical science. Still trying to, get in, go through that route. And then that didn't happen. And so I was thinking, okay, what else could I do? So I decided on law. So then I did the GDL after that. And so after finishing the GDL, I was applying for training contracts, and the story is common. Like, I wasn't getting anywhere with the training contracts, and so I typed into Google, what can I do with science and a law degree? Well, I was getting desperate at the time. What can I do with science and a law degree? And that's when I found out about the trademark attorney and patent attorney profession. I had not heard about it before then, not even during law school. I hadn't heard about it. So I applied for a training contract. The training contract is slightly different. So it's not your 2 years like you have as solicitor. It is 3 to 4 years. So I applied for a position in Liverpool, and I got in, and so I did the training. I really enjoyed it, and then I decided after qualifying that it was time to set up on my own. And so shortly after qualifying, I started near Percept IP.
Nice. So you have been on a bit of a journey, especially like changing careers and what it is you want to do completely. And as always, we run to Google for some type of guidance. So it's good that you found something that you thought you'd be interested in, and then it did end up working out for you. So great. Let's kind of get into all of that in a bit more detail. So you kind of just mentioned that your training contract wasn't the typical, 2 years and stuff like that. What was your training contract structure like then?
So the first year, so it depends on what firm you go to.
Okay.
So the minimum work experience you need to qualify is 2 years. But most firms, the whole process is 3 to 4. So my first year was just working under supervision of my supervisor. I was given work to do, drafting things, and she would check it and meeting clients and all the things that you would normally do when you're training under your supervisor. So that was for the first year. And then the second year, I started a course. It's called the Trademark Law and Practice. Okay. So it's the first course that is compulsory if you want to qualify as a trademark attorney. I did that at Queen Mary's. It was every other weekend. So you're working full time, and then at the weekend, you're then studying in class. So then that was that second sort of academic year. Then the third year is a break. So you just study. So you're not studying, you're working in that year. So you're building up more experience. Your supervisor is handing you more complex work. You're, taking charge of client meetings, things like that. And then the fourth year is then the final course, which is kind of akin to the LPC. So it's the practice course in trademarks. So it's a professional certificate. And that's where you do a lot of dispute work. You do a lot of oral work. So you have hearing, and you've got to argue a case and things like that. So
the practical skills that you would generally learn. Okay.
Yeah, so it's all the practical skills. And then after that, you then fully qualify. Yeah.
Wow, I've never actually heard a training structure like that. Like normally you would kind of do the GDL, do the LPC, then join a law firm. So it's really interesting that you had such a kind of different path to how it is you then qualified. Was it hard to find that online, or had you heard of it before? Or was it just a case it's something you kind of came across?
So I hadn't heard of it before. Certainly whilst I was doing the GDL, I hadn't heard of it. Everything was either solicitor or barrister.
Literally. Literally.
I had legal exec, but it was literally solicitor, barrister, legal exec, or failure. That's it. That's all the options that you had. So
or like a completely different career with a law degree. So like, whether it be probation or something like that. Yeah,
so I didn't know. And then it was literally, as I was saying, I Googled it and up came patent attorney and trademark attorney. It is a very, very small profession. Mm-hmm. And there are quite a number of trademark and patent attorney firms, particularly in London. But yeah, the profession is very small. Like when I tell people that I meet what I do for a living, they're like, huh?
Literally.
What's that? Attorney. And you know what I get always is like, don't you mean lawyer or solicitor? Isn't attorney an American
very
word?
US based?
Yeah. And I'm like, no. I mean, it is, but no, that's the official title. That's what we are. So it is a very niche specialty of law. And yeah, we are lawyers as well.
100%. That was my thought process, because when I saw in your bio that you were an attorney, I went on your LinkedIn to be like, okay, where am I finding US here? Like, I was like, it has to be somewhere. And when I didn't find it in your background, I was like, okay, like this is something completely new that the profession does offer, but lots of people just don't know about it.
Yeah,
so what was it that you would say kind of persuaded you to go down that route, as opposed to keep trying to apply for a training contract and maybe just apply to a firm that kind of had an IP department?
Because from what my research, the working hours and work-life balance seem to be a lot better.
Okay.
It is mostly your 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And it is, you've got a great work-life balance with that. And yeah, simply because I got in, I'm not going to front. I'm not going, listen, if a door opens,
you walk through it.
I'm going to walk after all my tribulations and all my trying to get in. No, I'm going to take that. So, I quit, like, okay, trademark attorney, that's fine. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And, I have always worked alongside solicitors. So typically trademark attorneys will do everything, but when it comes in terms of trademarks, but when it comes
we'll definitely go into what exactly that is.
Okay,
Okay, so let's do that now then, actually. Yeah. Let's take it back a couple of steps then. So what exactly is intellectual property, first of all?
Okay, so IP is an umbrella term for a different number of rights. So intellectual property, they are not physical assets. So they are assets that typically a business owns, which are key and valuable to its growth and to its identity. So intellectual property, you've got underneath that, you've got trademarks. So that is, a sign. So for instance, Apple, they use the word Apple and the logo. So when you see that on products, you know that that product belongs to Apple rather than Samsung, right? So you've got trademarks, you've got copyright, which protects original works, like, when you're writing a book or lyrics of a song. So that's copyright. You've got patents, which protects a novel invention. And then you've got trade secrets, which protect your confidential business information. So like business know-how, like recipe, like, a recipe, or just something that is key to the firm that is, is a secret.
Something they don't want to get out. So like maybe KFC's chicken recipe is like, that's kind of important to them.
Exactly. So that's a trade secret. So you've got those different types under IP. But IP is not an umbrella.
It's an umbrella. It's a broad term that,
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you do and specialize more in trademarks, is that right?
Yes.
So
right.
why is it that you decided trademarks, or was that just based on a qualification? And what does a day-to-day trademark attorney do?
So trademark is based on the qualification. So when you're going down this route, it's either you're a patent attorney, and to do that, you need a science degree. To do that, because it is heavily science-based. And then, for trademarks, you don't need a science degree. You can have a law background or any background to go into that. So a typical day, it's different because opening your own firm and, running your own business, that's completely different. So do you want me to talk about what is now, what a typical day if you were in a firm?
Yeah, flow with it. Whatever you feel like you want to touch on now, just in terms of because obviously now that people know what trademarks are and what intellectual property is, what is the work that you'd be doing as a trademark attorney? Like, what does that actually mean in practice? Yeah.
Okay. So a new company has started, they've set up, and they'll typically approach a trademark attorney to protect their brand. So we file words, logos, anything that you're using as a sign, as a trademark. So my day involves, trademark filings. It also involves disputes as well. So if there is trademark infringement, so somebody is using somebody else's mark without their consent, that forms part of our day. Dealing with opposition work. So when you file a trademark, it is examined and then it's published for other owners that have trademarks to view it. And, if it is similar or identical, then you can oppose it. So that's another sort of dispute that happens. And then, we do renewals as well. We do a lot of advice to clients generally about their portfolio. So it's strategy based. So where's your business going? What do you need to protect now? Let's look, let's foresight in the future. So, are you going to be expanding to China? Is the business going to be going to the US? Okay, so we need to protect your brand in that country.
Every other country as well, exactly.
Yeah, and looking at the business, so what services are you providing, and make sure we include that in the trademark. And so renewing that every year to make sure the business is up to date. Businesses are very innovative, and typically they come up with new products all the time. So it's just reviewing that and making sure we are covered and we're in the right place. And then another big part of it is watching. So once you've got your trademark, then we watch to see if anybody else has, tried to copy it. Then we're sending out letters. So that's where you get all your cease and desist. You get all of, that type of correspondence. And so that's typically the work of a trademark attorney.
I think it's very exciting because I studied commercial and intellectual property on the LPC, and it is so varied, like you said, about the different type of work you're doing, whether it's advising people on getting a trademark, whether it's litigation, watching other companies. I think it's very broad. Would you say that as an attorney, you generally do a bit of everything, or would you say that some tend to specialize in handling certain areas of the trademark, so whether they just deal with the litigious part of it or the advising part? How would you say it kind of works?
Yeah, so you tend to do everything, from filing all the way to counterfeit goods or an infringement. You'll deal with everything. When you start out, I would say it's more so the filing side of things, because that tends to be obviously a bit easier. And that's where you get your foundation training in. But a trademark attorney will do everything. I guess higher up you go, if you become a partner in a firm, I guess you can decide, I'm going to only focus on disputes. And maybe the associates or trainees will focus on filing. But as you become more senior in the profession, so you go from associate, senior associate, and partner, you deal with more complex cases.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I think my follow-up question to that then would be, would you say that moving from kind of spending that time in the organization you were training in to starting your own firm was a big move for you, in terms of then having to not only deal with all of those different aspects, but also manage it as a whole separate company? Like, what was that transition like, and why did you decide to do it?
So
the laugh tells us everything, I think.
You know what? I was really blessed to work in two really different firms before setting up my own. So the first one was very much more traditional, would be your typical firm, exact same structure. Everything goes through a supervisor, and you don't have as much responsibility when you're training, right? When I moved to being part qualified, I moved to another firm, and they were very unconventional in terms of the responsibility that they gave, which was fantastic for me. So right from the get-go, I was in charge of the whole process from filing to registration. So I had paralegals that were working with me. I had my own team, and I was in charge of everything. So from the first phone call that you have about wanting a trademark till you getting your certificate, and then I was dealing with some disputes. So that experience, it was very hands-on. I had to learn about how to be a manager. I had to learn about how to convert, because it's a business, so sales. So how to get somebody from thinking about filing a trademark to
actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because I had that experience, the transition to setting up my own was quite smooth in terms of, so it wasn't a massive jump for me. The only kind of jump would be on the dispute side, simply because you're working on your own. But other than that, no, it was a smooth, and I'm really grateful and thankful that I had that experience. But yeah,
I think experience is so important, because like you said, with more traditional, obviously there's this, whether it's there or not there, it's there, that hierarchy. So people at the bottom will deal, like you said, with more administrative type tasks, and then the hierarchy you get, the more control you get, the more exposure you get. So having that on one end, and then the other end kind of being able to experience every different part of the trademark process, really did give you the foundation you need to kind of go at it alone. So I think with whether you're working as a paralegal, as a trainee, getting as much exposure in general is always going to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
What I think is interesting is having that exposure in a law firm and then moving on to do it on your own. Was there any additional qualifications you needed? Did the SRA need you to prove you had a certain level of expertise before going at it alone? What was it like practically to open up something new on your own?
So with the final exams that we sit, the competency that we have to have is of a standard trademark attorney.
Okay.
There isn't a thing whereby you can be, I mean, of course, you're still junior, but everybody, when you qualify, you have to be at a certain standard, and there are checklists and there are requirements that are listed that you should be able to do A, B, C, and D. So when you pass your final exam, bearing in mind, most of us this is now our 4th year of being in trademarks, we're expected to have a caseload and run with it. So yeah, practically speaking, there weren't any, apart from telling them this is what I want to do, and as long as I had my that I passed, I had my litigation certificate, so allowing me to conduct litigation, which I have, and then just the general requirements. So needing to have any anti-money laundering procedures in place, your terms and conditions in place, other just key documents that you needed to have in place. So I know you mentioned the SRA. So for anybody that's listening, that is a solicitor or aspiring to be a solicitor, I would say check with the SRA. Oh yeah, you definitely need your insurance, indemnity.
I feel like there's a whole checklist.
Yeah, so you can't open anything without having that. So yeah, you have to go through the process of getting your insurance, and then practically, you know, as any business would, you then have to have a website, and then you have to think about marketing, and you have to think about how much you're going to charge and all of that good stuff. But the actual regulatory stuff is quite straightforward. You just need to speak to whoever it is. So for trademark attorney, it's IPREG, and for solicitors, it's the SRA. But the main thing is, yeah, you need to have your insurance, and then there's key documents that you need to have, and then, yeah.
Okay, so we did have a question that came in that I think we should just touch on now. Someone just wanted to confirm what the qualification is called again. So like what the legal qualification you did that allowed you to go from, you know, GDL to qualification. What was that bit in the middle called?
Yeah, so it's called, and I have to get this right because they're so similar. It is the first course is at Queen Mary's, University of London. It's called Trademark Law and Practice.
Okay.
You don't have to be in a firm to do that course. So you can just, you know, be like a student and apply and do the course, but you will be with everybody who's in practice working as a trademark attorney. So that's the first course. The second course is at Nottingham Trent University, and it's called the Professional Certificate in Trademark Practice.
Okay.
And for that one, you need to be in a firm. That's part of the requirements. Yeah.
Okay. So is the process that you could have applied to the company that you ended up being at from your GDL, or did you have to have done that trademark in practice course before you applied to them?
No, yeah. So you apply to the company first, and then they put you through the courses.
Okay. Yeah. But then you didn't have to be with the company in order to do that preliminary course. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Are the courses really expensive? Because obviously when we look at things like the LPC, that's 14,000, and the SQE, that's like 2, 3, 5, depending on, you know, what you're putting in the package. Is it quite expensive to do those courses?
Yeah, it's about, I mean, of course it's expensive. I'm just thinking of when law would never be expensive.
Honestly.
I think it's £8,000, I think, each, both of the courses, it's not as expensive as the LPC, which is why I couldn't do it. Right, so I did the GDL,
honestly,
and I had to pay for that myself, obviously, because at the time I wasn't in the firm. And I looked at the LPC and I thought, sorry,
it's another chunk. Honestly,
nope, can't do it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's about 8 to 10 for each. Yeah.
Okay, I think because they're university courses, maybe you might be able to get that 10,000 government funding, but I think that's something I'm happy to look into just to double check, because even with the LPC, even though it was 14, I just paid it with a master's and got the 10,000 government funding. So sometimes there's ways around it. I'm looking for a way around. No one's got 15 grand in the pocket. Honestly. Okay, perfect. So you qualified, you started your own firm. In the process, I would kind of imagine that with any other area of corporate commercial law, you kind of have to keep up to date with what's going on in the commercial markets, how things are changing. For people who are interested in intellectual property or trademarks in particular, is there any resources that you would point to that would maybe help them kind of keep up that commercial knowledge?
Yeah, so trademark specific knowledge, what's going on in the trademark world, I would say definitely the UK Intellectual Property Office, their website, they post a lot of updates on there. If you follow, they've got Trademark Lawyer, that's like a subscription magazine. There's a lot of updates commercially, what's going on. And then just generally, you know, LinkedIn's actually quite good for finding out what's going on at a local level. So I know, and this question comes up a lot, right? Commercial awareness, okay?
all
like,
the time, literally.
Every time you want to apply for, you know, a law, you know, to be a solicitor, whatever, if it's commercially, you know, what, you know, do you have any commercial experience, or, you know, do you know what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. So for trademarks, it's literally not, and this is just my personal opinion, other attorneys might say something else, but it's just literally knowing, so what's going on in the trademark world. So there's been a lot of changes with trademarks, particularly with Brexit, and so that's something that we had to, you know, revise and refresh on. What's the general mood of businesses as well? So like, what's going on in the life cycle? So for instance, for many businesses after Brexit, that wanted to sell goods to the EU, there was another step that they had to take. So being aware of that, whilst it's not directly related to filing a trademark, it forms part of the bigger picture. And so when you're advising a client, you need to be aware of, okay, put yourself in their shoes. That's all what, for me, commercial awareness is. So put yourself in the shoes of the business. What things are they facing? Okay, I need to be aware of those things, so then I can tailor my advice to them. So it may be, okay, we need to file here, here, and here, and not here, because this is what is going on. So it you know, it impacts strategy, and it impacts everything. But just keeping your ear to the ground, knowing what's going on. There aren't any other particular resources really.
Okay, no, I think the ones you mentioned are really helpful. And I think I did a post on that commercial awareness a little while back, and one point I made is that sometimes more is more, in the sense that knowing a lot about one topic can only help you so much, because as you said, as business advisors, you kind of have to know what's going on in a lot of different aspects of that firm's business so you can advise accordingly. So knowing a good amount of a lot of areas is more important than knowing a lot about one area. So commercial awareness works exactly the same. You need to kind of have a general understanding about what's going on so that you can understand the business you're working with. But then if you're interested in trademarks, it's good to also know what's happening in the trademark sphere as well. So I think the sources you gave are good enough. And for any aspiring solicitors that are thinking about not going down the route and maybe, or exploring all of their options, what general advice would you give to aspiring solicitors entering the profession? Because like you said, it's not always easy to get a training contract. It's not always easy to move from non-law into law and things like that. So what have you learned along your journey that you would like to share?
Don't put your eggs in one basket.
Agreed. Sorry, I literally did this yesterday. Okay, go on.
Don't put your eggs in one basket. Have a contingency plan. I always say after that, there might be holes in your basket, big ones, and whatever you've planned has fallen through. Okay, so think of plan A, plan B, and really, really research. Okay, because I did not find out about my profession when I was in law school. Okay. Honestly. And that's quite telling. So there are a lot of things that you can do out there. So research, talk to people, connect with people that are in different legal professions, so you can get a broad understanding of what it is they do. Because oftentimes, this personally speaking, I found that when I was on the GDL, it was very narrow-minded, and it was either you're going to be a solicitor or you're going to be a barrister. Yeah. And there are some people that might be in the middle, or they're unsure, or you're not able to get that training contract. Or I would say apply to as much, no, not as much as you can, because that's unrealistic, and you shouldn't be sending off 100 applications just for the sake of it. So you need to be focused. But don't try and broaden your horizons, and think of other things that you can do. And the thing is, even if you don't become a lawyer, and this is going to be very difficult for some people to hear, because we don't like to hear no, and we don't like it when our plans don't come to fruition. But that was me when I wanted to become a doctor, and I didn't have time to sit and sulk about it. I had to think, what else can I do? And I'm so happy now, and I prefer me being a lawyer than being a doctor. So there are lots of things that you can do. I know a lot of people from law go into HR consulting, and there's a ton of money in that. You know, some people leave law completely and do something else, but yeah, just don't put your eggs in one basket, and don't beat yourself up for, like, the process is tough. You know, there's so many people that want to be a lawyer. There's so few places. But at least you have another avenue now, which is the trademark profession. You can apply there. So if you do want to become a trademark attorney, you can go to IP Careers, it's a website, and they list all of the training opportunities on that website with the different firms, the different dates. They are recruiting throughout the year, but more of them happen around the September time. But it is throughout the year, so there isn't a one cut-off deadline. So yeah, anybody that's interested, go on IP Careers and you can find information there.
Amazing. No, honestly, I was smiling throughout because I couldn't agree more. Because I like you said, the legal profession is very structured and rigid, and right from the point, and you think that you want to be a lawyer, you're told what being a lawyer is meant to be like and how it is you're meant to get there. So you're meant to do law, and then you find actually I could have just done a DDL, and you're meant to do the LPC or the BPT. Like, actually no, I could decide as I could have done solicitor apprenticeship, I could have done, do you know what I mean? There's so many options when it comes to entering the legal profession that I think is so important that you explore what your options are. And as we said, Google is your best friend, and we are not sponsored, but it is. Like, have a look at what else is out there, and like I said, speak to other professionals that are in the industry that can guide you and kind of point you in the right direction, because I didn't know 90% of this before we jumped in the live. So I think it's good to know, and it's good to share. So thank you for sharing. Let me just see if there are any questions.
Yeah, I think I've seen one.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, a few. Do they recruit international students?
Great question.
Yes, they do. They recruit, if it doesn't matter if you're international, if you're right for the role, then they're more than happy to recruit you. And if there's anything that needs to be sorted out, then they're happy to do that. It's definitely not going to be a barrier for you if you're an international student. And also for the course as well. For the first course, like I said, you don't need to actually be in a firm to do it. So you can be international, apply for it and do it. But the second course, you do need to be in a firm, and I believe in the UK. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And just on that point then, someone else asked how long the courses are, because obviously things vary. Is it 3 years? Is it 1 year? Is it? Yeah. How long is each of the courses?
So each course is one academic year.
Okay.
So they typically start in October and then they go through to like July. You've got exams in June, July. So yeah, just one academic year. But the first course is every other weekend, and the second course is more sporadic. It's like 1 week every 2.5, 3 months. So it's quite intense. But yes, the second course is intense. So I should have said that. What? Yes, you're not going to class all the time. For the second course, you are in lectures and workshops and group work for a full week, and then you will then not have another class until like December. So I did like 1 week in October, then I had December, then I had exams in January, and then I did another week in March, and then April, and that was it.
But I guess it doesn't really matter in the sense that because you'll be doing the second course while you're at the law firm know you're on the course, so you'll just kind of get time off to do the course. So really,
exactly,
it's just like any other work thing. Okay, that makes sense. And I think you said that from when you started the first course to maybe when you qualified, it was about 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, yeah.
Wow. I think that's better than sometimes how long it takes you to get a training contract. It took me 6 years, so I could have just qualified as an attorney. And I'm still not qualified, so there you go.
And you know what? You can, because watching one of your other lives, you're talking about being a paralegal and how to progress. And of course, they have trademark paralegals. I am going to do a quick advert here to say that the pay for, I don't know what the pay is for paralegals in other firms and other seats, but for trademark, I mean, you can get 50,000, 60 a year. For some firms, 40 for paralegal role. So honestly, like this, they keep this profession a secret.
Lucrative.
Yeah. So if you are a paralegal, and you know they do also recruit that way as well. So you can go from paralegal and then train on and become an attorney as well.
So I think that's always another big question that people have, because obviously because the whole LPC route, obviously now we're moving to SQE, so it's a little bit different, but because the LPC route is very, and BPT's route is very competitive, people always stress on, you know, get experience before you even apply. Would you say that it's the same way with the chartered, what's the title again?
Trademark attorney.
Trademark attorney. I was about to say child legal executive. I was like, no, wrong one. I was like, abort. Because the journey is different. Would you say that there is as much emphasis on getting experience before, or is it okay to just kind of go and apply?
So I'll tell you my experience before going in. I'll answer your question. I was working as a court clerk in a county court. After I did the GDR, well, whilst I was doing the GDR, I had no experience working in a firm. I had no paralegal experience. And like I said, I only learned about what a trademark attorney was from Google. So I applied and I got in. So with that being said, you don't need, now I don't want people to think, oh my gosh, it's DOS, it's easy, I'll just, no. So I mean, they're not particularly looking for trademark experience, because I think they realise that a lot of people coming in the profession won't have any. Because it's IP and it can be quite strict in terms of work experience, because it, you know, it is, you know,
and it's quite niche as well.
Yeah, it's quite niche as well. So they're looking for more transferable skills. So, you know, are you able to have a good eye for detail? Are you able to handle a lot of workload? You know, yeah, there are some commercial awareness questions. And what do you know about trademarks? And can you explain what a trademark is? Those are typical questions that you get. But it's simply going to be if you're going to be, you know, a great fit. And if you can display all of the transferable skills that they're looking for. They're not necessarily looking for a long list of, you've got so much experience. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's really good to know. And I think that also kind of emphasizes the point we made about like exploring other options, because not every other option out there is as difficult and as stringent and competitive as the ones that they kind of force on you in the beginning. Like, this is the route you have to take, because that's the only route everyone knows. Whereas if you kind of put your best foot forward and kind of make sure you develop transferable skills, other routes can be easier to get into. So I think that is important, and definitely good to explore before you give up on law in general, because
absolutely there's so much things that you can
literally
that you can do. And the thing is, I'm so glad that I wasn't caught up with every year applying for a training contract. I did that for like, I think a year or 2 years. And I was like, this can't work. It can't work like that. We can't do this.
Yeah, I definitely endured that struggle.
But I commend you, you know, for doing that. You know, I don't have as much resilience as you do.
Oh no, yeah, it's not for everyone. It definitely isn't easy. So if anything that I put on my platform makes it easier, I'm there for it. So
absolutely,
that is good. So I think there's no more questions that have come in, but there was one other question that I had for you. In terms of the practice that you've set up, what are the different kind of services you offer? Where do you see it going? What does this exciting venture look like for you?
So we are primarily targeting startups and SMEs.
Okay.
And then what is dear to my heart is Black communities, so Black entrepreneurs, Black business owners. And so the service that we provide is that we help owners protect their IP. So we provide trademark registration services if you want to register a trademark. We've introduced like a new package to that, which is that if you are already familiar with the process and you simply want the application to be drafted for you and you want to submit it yourself, then we do a self-file option, which is, you know, obviously cheaper than the regular package, and it's really great for people that maybe can't afford the other packages, or who already are experienced and they don't want to have an attorney all the way. So so we've got trademark registration, we do design services, so we file designs, we have dispute services, we have a trademark MOT, so we can come virtually or physically into your business and we can look and assess your business and we can tell you what IP you need, what you need to file, and where the gaps are in your business, where you're not protected, where you're vulnerable. So we do that. We offer that as sort of an annual service. You can get that done every year. We do watching as well, watching service. So we can, if you have a trademark and you want to, you need to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of who's filing. If someone has tried to copy your brand, then we can watch as well. So generally all services around IP we provide. And also we're going to be in the future doing some webinars, we're going to be doing some courses and some workshops to really bring IP to the community.
Amazing. No, honestly, I love that whole idea of an MOT, because a lot of us need a tune up in lots of different areas and we don't know it. So it's good to kind of have that MOT vibe, because it's obviously trademark is what you do a lot of, but to have, you know, the knowledge that you go in and if there's any other intellectual property that they need help with or need advice on, that you obviously provide that service is good as well. So great. We've got one question. The question is, can't I just file a trademark myself? Great question. Okay, is that a no?
Okay, so you can file a trademark on your own, okay? There's nothing stopping you from doing that, and a lot of people have filed it on their own. However, and I'll tell you, I'm working with clients at the moment who filed on their own and various things went wrong, okay? So when you file a trademark application, you need to list, I'm going to be very brief, you have to list a specification, okay? So you've got to put the goods and services that you are going to be providing, okay? So without a trademark attorney, oftentimes what I find is that people that file on their own, they don't have a broad enough specification, so they don't consider the goods and services that they're going to be doing in the next 5 years, because that's another requirement and that as an attorney we will look at. Sometimes the application isn't drafted correctly, and both of those problems really come into play when you've got your trademark and now you want to enforce it. So somebody else has, you know, used your trademark without your consent, and now you're coming to an attorney and you're saying, okay, great, I've got a trademark, I want to go off this person, and then when I go to look at it, I'm like, no,
you didn't do it right.
You didn't, and it really limits what you can do with your trademark, okay? It can limit the scope of your protection. Anything as, you know, if you don't include a particular word or a particular phrase, that can really cut your legal rights, and it's something that you won't know. And obviously we've been to school and taking so many exams for 4 years, like we are experts at drafting an application. And it's not just about your application, it's about where you're filing, what you're filing, because a lot of people think that if I file a logo, that gives me protection. That's very limited. And unfortunately, again, I've got clients that they've got a logo and, you know, there's just limited things that I can do with that. So it's about, you know, being protected, having adequate protection. And I always give this example, and like I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, I don't like that example, but I'm gonna use it. And no shade to the companies that I'm gonna mention, but it's like, for instance, you going to Primark and buying a pair of jeans versus you going to Levi's and buying a pair of jeans. Okay, if you file on your own, you know, you've done it, it's, you know, quick and whatever, and you think that you've got enough rights. However, when it comes to the long term, and you really need that trademark to now work for you, it can often not be as good as you think it is. And so that's where I personally, because I'm like, if you had come to me, we could have sorted this out. I mean, also including random stuff in your application, you can get opposed by another company that have those goods already covered. And also, like, you know, if you are a lay person, you don't necessarily know how to conduct a thorough search of the trademarks to see if there is an earlier trademark out there, and you file it, and then there's an opposition, and then you're coming to me saying, help me, you know, like, I didn't know. So it's better to get the advice from the beginning. And with your brand, okay, with your trademark, that is your identity as a business. If you don't have your brand name, no one can buy your stuff.
Yeah, literally.
It's literally the lifeline of your business. Okay, so I would say get it protected properly, get it done, and then you can go on. And a lot of people, I'll give a gem here, you know, you can make money off of your IP. Okay, so it's not just about filing
out and stuff.
So you can do licensing, you can you know, collaborate and partner with different people, and people can pay you to literally use your name. So you need to get it right. And obviously investors as well, if there's gaps in your IP, sometimes investors don't want to invest because there's risk there, that you're not properly protected. So get the proper legal advice from the beginning, so you are set and you can win in your business. You can grow, you can create multiple business and be tight, solid, tight.
No. Excellent response. Okay, perfect. No, definitely advice, because I feel like that applies to a lot of different areas of law. Obviously, there's endless information on Google, but you are never going to be as good as an expert in protecting yourself legally when it comes down to really important things. It's like people can write their own wills, but it's always better to get an advisor. People can do aspects of their conveyancing, but it's always better to get someone who is legally sure about everything that they're doing, everything that they're searching for. So completely agree. Okay, perfect. I think that is all our questions. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining today and for answering all of our questions. And thank you for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. And yeah, I hope to come back on here as well. We can do you know, some more lives and have another chat. But thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everybody that has joined as well.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone, like you said, who's still in, and for everyone who sent their questions in either during the live or before the live. As always, this live will come off of my Instagram soon, but it'll go up on my YouTube, and I've been really bad at this, but all of them are going up next week. Like, they're on to go up, so it will go up next week. But you can keep watching it back and taking notes of anything that's definitely said with regards to the different courses or universities or law firms and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.